Officer Martin was the Caucasian cop that was out there that night. For him, I really don't understand his purpose of being there, because if he saw that the whole situation was escalated, why your job as a policeman is to de-escalate situations. You're not helping put out the fire, you're adding more to it. You see what I mean?
Absolutely. I want to ask you about the culture on campus. You're a college student, Delta State University. How has the administration responded to you? What is the dean of students saying? Your student government, have they gotten involved?
Well, I haven't heard word from the Student Government Association at all about the situation. My dean, I really don't know. I tried to set up a meeting with the president and the vice president. For the simple fact, I feel like that is something that is needed. And as far as school, the only word that I have gotten back is from Student Life. I got some paper saying that I was going to be on suspension and abeyance. But with the whole thing, they said I can either appeal the situation or, sign it and turn it in. And I appealed for the simple fact I'm innocent. So I feel like there's no reason to suspend me. And it said on the paper, the first thing it said, after investigating the situation, I was in violation of section 1C, 2A, and 2B. So I noticed it said out there investigating. So I asked the director of student life and the officer that was present, have they seen any video footage or any camera footage? They both responded no. So I started wondering, how am I already getting these papers if you all haven't seen the video or the camera footage, and you're head of student life and you're the one giving me these papers? So that means you're the one that has to make sure, okay, this is the right move. So I'm still trying to figure it all out myself, but I feel like it's a work in progress.
Let's talk about what happened to the original complaint. Remember, at the beginning of this narrative, you talked about individuals in a pickup truck using racist language against you and your friends. Has anything developed from that initial complaint about racism on the campus?
To be honest, no, sir. I tend to stay, in my business, and out of everybody else's, I try to stay on my path to make sure I don't swerve into anybody else's lane, for the simple fact I don't need no extra drama added to my life. And before that incident, I did have a run-in with another student who, rumored to say some racist things towards other students, saying homophobic slurs or transphobic things to other students or make them uncomfortable. And he called the cops on me, said that I said something racist to him, which was false. And a couple students came up and testified their stories with him. And that kind of helped me out. But one thing that stuck out about that whole situation is, after everything that happened, one of the officers told me, don't really say too much about it, because they don't want stuff like that getting out around campus. And I sat there thinking for a while, well, this is something that needs to be addressed. This is something that the college students should know, so they'll know, okay, they're serious about this. This is something that we cannot do. If they see that, oh, we can just get away with this, it's gonna be more and more of it. That's not taking a step in the future, that's taking 10 steps back into the past.
JT, I heard you say something about wanting to stay in your own lane. And I understand your heart. I understand the sentiment of that. But I also want to submit something to you, put it on the shelf, just keep it on your radar. One of the most underappreciated experiences during our journey is being uncomfortable. We do not appreciate what being uncomfortable can do. You spoke up because you were uncomfortable. When you are uncomfortable, things can change. But don't become comfortable in discomfort. Don't allow discomfort to become normal. Change it. I applaud you for standing up, for saying something, for being willing. I applaud you for that. What do you want to do? What are you going to school for?
Right now I'm in school as a fashion major student. I do want to own my own fashion line or be a model for a top lining, for the simple fact I do love fashion. It's a sense that I do take pride in. And taking photos is something that I've always done. So, why not make a career with it?
There you go. Well said. We're going to continue to follow this story, JT. If you need to contact me, you have my information. We're going to obviously have an update once legal counsel is completely secured. That process is still ongoing. But we appreciate the time you have spent today providing update and clarity as to what happened.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Richey.
Thank you, sir. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, remember, I will be with you in just a minute on Senator Nina Turner Show. All right, so we'll be there in just a second on Boss. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.
Welcome back to the show. This is our premiere week. We are here on a Friday. And do I have the biggest treat ever? Joining me is the executive producer and host of Indisputable, the one and only Dr. Rashad Richey himself. Doc, how you doing today?
It is such a pleasure. I'm doing great, sister. Such an honor to be on your show. Very proud of you. Love the program. You're killing it. Thank you, dear sister, for the invite.
Well, thank you, Doc. I'm so glad you're here with me. I've been with you many a time and just honored to have you here as well. So we are going to get this party started on a Friday. We're going to start with Michael Render, AKA Killer Mike, was attacked in an op-ed. Watch this.
I read the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's comments about me speaking tonight. One jumped out at me and it broke my heart. It says, I don't listen to rap and I'll no longer be listening to Bernie Sanders. And I just want to say that whoever wrote that, before I was a rapper, I was a son of Atlanta. Before I ever wrote one rhyming word on paper, before that, I was a black man in America. And before I ever learned how to dance a jig, I gave a damn about American politics. I gave a damn about the people of America, and I took to the streets and I advocated.
There it is. Before I even sung or danced a jig, I was an activist. He said he gives a damn about the black community in America at large. So I'm just kind of miffed. And I don't understand why anybody will write an op-ed attacking this man who is an activist in his own right, standing up strong for the people, not only the people of the great state of Georgia, but black people all over this country and all people. So, he's a freedom fighter. He is a 21st century freedom fighter. He comes from a strong tradition in the ATL, his grandparents, and being able to he was fortified at the feet of some of the greatest civil rights activists of the 20th century. He was forged there in that way, in the ATL, and his life's journey thus far is an indication of what he cares about. He is a husband, he is a father, he is a brother, he is a son, and he brings all that he is to every single thing that he does. So why, oh why, I say, would he be attacked in an op-ed that linked him to the foolishness and mayhem of Kanye in his misdeeds at this time? So here's the headline. This rapper is more politically dangerous than Kanye West. Killer Mike cozied up with Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and Senate candidate Herschel Walker, allowing legitimacy to their campaigns with the black community. Doc, jump in here.
So first of all, Killer Mike's a friend of mine. He's a good brother, a decent individual. Let's be clear about what they're trying to do. They're trying to say that in order for black people to be black people, they must think all alike. They must be monolithic. The reality is Killer Mike is complex. He's a nuanced individual, intentionally so, by design, not by happenstance. So let's look at some of the statements he's been criticized for making. He said that Kemp, who is the current governor of Georgia, Stacey Abrams' opponent, he says, listen, the guy has run an effective campaign. He has. That doesn't create legitimacy. The campaign is already legitimate. He's the governor. Killer Mike's comments cannot create legitimacy for the campaign. Has Kemp reached out to some segments of the African American community? Of course he has, okay? All politicians do it typically on some level. These things are just truths that he decided to put out. That doesn't negate the fact that policy on top of policy, Killer Mike has always advocated for the values of progressive policies up and down the equator here. So you can't bring this element up as if it somehow creates a summary against our brother without explaining the context connected to his own statement. So I hate when I see people do this to individuals who obviously are advocates. And I understood his point when he said it hurt him to see some of those comments, because when groups or individuals that you love and you advocate for, communities that you support, When they have a misunderstanding about you, that hits in a different way. So I absolutely get what he's saying there. But this is a way to limit what he can say. Sometimes he has said things that I have disagreed with. He's been on my radio show multiple times. Killer Mike and I, we have had discussions where him and I did not see eye to eye on something. But guess what? That's my brother. And not only is that my brother, that's my brother in value. Him and I still believe alike more so than we do not.
I agree with that, Doc. And you know what? There's a saying that if two people always agree, one is not needed.
Come on.
This makes no sense, and it was reckless of this writer. It was cruel of this writer to conflate, to put Yee and Killer Mike after what Yee, White Lives Matter shirt, handing it out on Skid Row. I mean, this really is the height of recklessness. And you know what, Doc? In 2018, Michael Render supported Stacey Abrams. I talked to him about supporting her, and he did just that. And you know what else he did? He helped to get Senator Bernard Sanders to endorse her. He was the first.
Yep.
He was the first major national figure to endorse her candidacy in 2018. You know who helped to make that happen? Michael Render helped to make that happen. And so the way that they're trying to slay him right now makes no sense. I want folks to take a look at this.
I know I'm preaching to the choir tonight. I know there are not a lot of voices of dissension out there. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but I'm here to tell you, stay encouraged, stay invigorated, stay bold, stay confronting bull at every turn. Make sure that wherever you go, you take the name, the ideas, the philosophy, and the ideology of Bernie Sanders there, and you make sure when you leave, they are on fire because they have felt the burn.
Come on now, make sure they are on fire because they have felt the burn. Doc, in that video, he's encouraging people who are standing up for what is just right and good, basically telling them, do not get weary in well-doing, and also saying to them, don't accept the BS. Don't just accept anything that people try to hand you. Stay fervent in this fight.
Yeah, and it's necessary because obviously there are opportunities to become distracted. The reality is this: we don't really vote for people. We think we do. Their names are on the ballot, but we're actually voting for policies that they represent. So while people may get affixed to a personality, so to speak, the reality is you're voting and supporting policies that could impact communities you love dearly in a very negative or positive way. And when you summarize the life and the lifestyle of Killer Mike, you clearly see that he is not anti-black, that he is not some type of surrogate of Kanye West. It's not even close. Killer Mike's not a sellout. He doesn't do things with the motivation of money or sensationalism. The brother is a thoughtful man. And if you disagree with Killer Mike, that's fine. That's all right. That's all right. Many people disagree with me too. That's part of the process. But that is still our brother in this journey to make this country a better place. He's coming from an authentic place. Even in disagreement, he's coming from an authentic place.
That's right, Doc. And we're gonna show a video of Killer Mike. Really, he was a guest on the Bill Maher show, and he makes it clear where he stands on police brutality. Take a listen.
Think that in terms of being punitive, I've often heard politicians talk about coming down on crime. Police officers that are guilty of these crimes should serve no less than life in jail in terms of murdering someone. Police officers that do this should have their pensions cut off and paid to the families of those murdered, and the taxpayers don't need to keep paying these suits off. And last but not least, we need to make police officer training longer than 6 to 8 months. It needs to be like a junior college, at least a couple years, and you need to either be reflective of or come from the communities you're policing.
So not only is he talking about the situation, and we know that Ahmaud Arbery was murdered, was gunned down, he's also laying out what the expectation should be within law enforcement itself. Doc, he never runs from the fight. So while we got Yee denying the fact that Officer Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd, this man is flat out, he just denied this. You have a leader like Killer Mike laying it down about the consequences that police officers, anybody in law enforcement should face if they break the law, and then going a step further to give advice about the type of training they should have in service to their community.
I concur. And one thing about Killer Mike, and I followed him for many years, he always offers a remedy. He will point out the problem. We've had forums, we've done panels. He's been on my show many times. He will articulate the problem, but he will also point out the remedy. And he will be very thoughtful about what that remedy or what those remedies should be. Typically, you don't find a lot of that in the community that he is expressed from, because many times we are really fixated on the problem. We got a lot of them, and we have to bring them to the forefront so that others can see, here's what we're dealing with. But he does that, and he always provides a base of solutions that can be applied. I remember when he was on Maher's show, and it's so interesting, that was a few years ago. When he did Bill Maher's show a few years ago, we now have this conversation about police reform in Atlanta. Literally last year, those policies that he talked about on that program started to be implemented at Atlanta City Hall because of deaths and egregious behavior of APD officers in Georgia. So back then, it was prophetic in some regards, but now it's being implemented today, some of those remedies he talked about on the show.
Absolutely, and speaking of City Hall, when there was recent unrest over the shootings, Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms reached out to none other than Michael Render, AKA Killer Mike, because he has the street credibility, the knowledge and the wisdom to bring about a certain type of calm, and he exudes a certain type of authority. Watch this.
So I'm duty bound to be here to simply say that it is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with an enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize, and mobilize.
There it is. I mean, he just laid that down. So on the right side of him, Doc, that's former Mayor Keisha Bottoms. And on the other side, a leader within the police department. This man was called upon, and usually when he is called, he answers the call. The bottom line is that Michael Render, AKA Killer Mike, for me, is the personification of so many other greats that have come before him who utilize their cachet for a greater good at a risk to themselves. I mean, Doc, Michael and Shay, they own businesses in the ATL, in and around the ATL. They employ numbers of folks in the ATL. So this man is a businessman. He is an entertainer. He is an activist, a father, a brother. He is all of those things. And he uses his cachet in a way that he doesn't have to. It reminds me similarly of what the great Muhammad Ali did. He's not beholden to any party. Yeah. He is a free thinking black man in America who understands that on issue by issue. I mean, sometimes you got to work with Satan himself or herself if it's an issue that is going to help your community or help the downtrodden in this world. Doc?
I remember when he did that press conference, I also remember what was happening that night. There was protest, there was some violence. It was both happening. And Killer Mike, as well as T.I. was there at that press conference too. The reason why we only really see the Killer Mike segment is because he was the most powerful orator and the most effective leader to calm down the streets of Atlanta that night, because it was about to get serious in Atlanta. And so he was called upon, even though I have seen my brother put his foot up the asses of every single one of those politicians and that police chief.
Come on.
When it came down to it, he was the person they said give the microphone to.
That's it, Doc, because he is, as he stated in that first clip we shared, an activist first.
Yeah.
Before he started singing and dancing, he was standing up for the people because that is how he was fortified. Killer Mike, we want you to know, brother, keep doing what you're doing. Don't let anybody turn you around.
Amen.
Voting Rights Act violations, no surprise in these United States of America. So Republicans in Georgia, Doc, and Louisiana want to decide who is black and who isn't, posing a danger to democracy. We are going backwards right now. We need the Voting Rights Act to be fixed right now. Lord have mercy, right now. And Doc, this story is making me think about the one drop rule. I can't believe these fools are out here in the 21st century doing this stuff, but that's what they're doing. So this is the issue. The issue exists because of the new maps created by the Republican-led legislatures in Alabama and Louisiana after the 2020 census. Take a look at the updated Georgia map. And there it is, right there. Y'all see that? Sea of red. That's all we see, right? 2021 map is on the left and the 2022 map is on the right. In both states, maps were drawn to dilute black voter strength at the polls, which we know is illegal. We went through this as a country, and here we are. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Now, this would violate the Voting Rights Act, specifically Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. A violation of subsection is established if, based on the totality of circumstances, it is shown that the political process leading to nomination or election in the state or political subdivision are not equally open to participation by members of a class of citizens protected by subsection, in that its members have less opportunity than the other members of the electorate to participate in the political process and to elect representatives of their choice. Since 2003, the definition of black had included every person who identifies as black on the census form. That's what it's been since 2023. But these special people want to change the rules. And that also includes anyone who checks off the boxes for black and any other racial or ethnic category. So Republicans hate that, Doc. They do.
This is just so damn sad and really baffling, right? We're literally having this conversation in what the right has coined post-racial America. They will say things like, well, there's no racism in America. We elected Barack Obama, but you didn't. If it was up to you, Trump would still be president of the United States, regardless of the fact that he tried to overthrow the government. White dominated cultural dynamics are still present in America today. That's why we try to break them down. We try to eliminate the barriers that it presents. But they're doing it not simply through culture and sentiment. This is policy. This is law. This is different. So when someone says, Senator, there is no racism in the law. I literally had a law professor say this to me a couple of weeks ago, that the law does not see race. And my rebuttal to my law professor was, but racists do see the law. And people have created laws based on their own bias. If they were aware of it or not, it did not matter. Hyper-aggression bias or aggressive bias or implicit bias, doesn't matter. The result is the same. What's the result? A product that's adversarial to the progress of black and brown people in America. So this is really interesting. Yeah.
It really is. And what you just said really folds into what a professor at Xavier University of Louisiana made a great point, Wendy Gotland. And she said, redistricting has nothing to do with people's identity. It has to do with power and how different populations, whether it's their inclusion or exclusion, or their carefully curated inclusion, how all of that works to promote the political power of a person or a party. When it gets down to it, the power should be in the hands of the people. Politicians should not be selecting their constituents.
Right.
The constituents should select and elect the politician, but the world is damn upside down. That Congress must fortify the Voting Rights Act, and they must act quickly. We ain't got time to lose because the Republicans are trying to steal this democracy using the rules of the game or changing the rules of the game. That's exactly what they're doing. And we got to fight back with a great fervor.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richey. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.
Climate is changing fundamentally, extremely, and non-linearly. It's becoming worse now. It's not when the levees burst that is the problem. It's in the anticipation of that.
So I hope every human being is safe. And by human beings, I do not include multinational corporations, especially the ones that started climate change in the first place.
What we're currently doing right now in cutting emissions is clearly not enough. There will be ramifications to what Trump is doing. I don't want people to suffer, but I feel like there's gonna be a lot of suffering because we have an imbecile as our leader.
And welcome back to the show. So glad to have Dr. Rashad Richey with us on this fine Friday. Let's read some of your comments. Connor says, first time getting to watch Unbossed live and we get Nina Turner and Dr. Richey. You couldn't ask for a better Friday.
Awesome. Thank you.
So, yes, thank you so much, Connor. And then Dunger Dragon says, Black Pearl Dragon and the Indisputable Dragon. Yes.
There you go.
With all kinds of exclamation points. Doc, what's I'm Black Pearl Dragon. You got a dragon name?
I think if I remember right, I think they have dubbed me Dr. Dragon, maybe?
Dr. Dragon.
I think that's it, yes.
That is very fitting for you. And lastly, I don't want people to forget about our sister Brittany Griner on this show. Doc, we've been talking about her every single day, making sure that people understand and are lifting up her family. Do not forget the hashtag #WeAreBG. That is what her wife and other family members have asked people to do in support. And also a reminder that here at TYT, we are raising money for the people of Jackson, Mississippi, who still do not have access to clean water. And so if you wanna help a sister, a brother, a family, or friend, I want you to go to tyt.com/relief. That is tyt.com/relief. And when it comes to water, hell, you can help a friend of me too, it's all right. And talking about, well, they not frenemies, they just flat out enemies. COVID vaccine price increase. Yes, that is happening. So when Jonas Salk developed the polio vaccine, he didn't patent it. He wasn't doing it for the money. He was in fact doing it for the greater good. Unfortunately, the sickness industry we're saddled with today doesn't feel the same way. It's built around profit over people, over their lives, over their livelihood. All they care about is the almighty dollar. I wish this headline was fake, but sadly, it is not. Daylight robbery. Pfizer condemned for hiking US COVID vaccine prices by 10,000% above cost. 10,000% above cost? That is absolutely crazy. But to really understand what is going on in this moment, we are going to break this down in a way that even a 3-year-old could understand. So let's ask ourselves, what if McDonald's jacked up a price of their food, let's say a cheeseburger, by 10,000% when it launched the dollar menu? What would you say about that? So McDonald's charges about 6% more than the cost of making a double cheeseburger. So McDonald's double cheeseburger, the cost, 94 cents to make it. Price tag, $1. What's the profit? 6 cents. Now, McDonald's jacked up their price of this double cheeseburger by 10,000%. Like Pfizer, the dollar menu would be the $94 menu. Let's put this up. $94, Doc, if they did the exact same thing that Pfizer is doing, that dollar double cheeseburger would cost $94. Dr. Richey?
This is the expression of what our healthcare system is actually about. Money, profit, not people. So this was inevitable in some degree, right? At some level, we knew this was going to end up happening. They are not regulated enough as it relates to financial windfalls like this. They have great leeway to make massive profit. When they push it, market it, people buy it. They can even manipulate doctors and prescribing things. Like, this is all part of the system. But the root of that system is what? The root of the system is profit. Now, does it negate the fact that people still need it? Of course not. That's the reason why they do it, because they know you do need it. That's not the issue. The issue is who has enough fortitude to stand up to these individuals, to these massively rich industry, and tell them no. Well, Republicans, they absolutely won't do it. Corporate Democrats, damn sure will not do it. So who are you left with? You're really left with one category of politician, and this is submitted in all due respect. You're only left with progressives, and they're trying to buy progressives off as well. But that's all you got. If you want someone who's willing to fight these particular policies, to restrict these industries from making this kind of profit or making these kind of proclamations that are legal, how in the hell is this even legal? I promise you, I guarantee you, if somebody said, we're gonna increase the double cheeseburger by 10,000%, somebody's gonna make a law saying you can't do that. Absolutely. I promise you somebody would, but not with medication, not with a vaccine. Nobody's gonna say anything.
Not anything, and your point is well taken. We would not accept this from McDonald's.
Right.
So why are we accepting this from Pfizer? I think it has a lot to do with the owner donors, Doc, that control the corporatist wings of both parties. This is a bipartisan play here, where you have corporatist Democrats, corporatist GOP members, Republicans, who both answer to their lords, and their lords are the big moneyed interests. So, so here's why. Let's put this up. In the US, drugs, they don't have no competitors, no competition. And so they can jack up the prices however they want, but they're not doing this in other countries. And this is in part because the US does not directly regulate or negotiate the prices of drugs. Now, other countries buy wholesale, sisters and brothers and family and friends. We want you to know this. Dr. Richey and I are not sounding the alarm on something that is not reasonable. This is a way of life in other countries where the country as a whole negotiates the prices for pharmaceuticals for the citizens of that nation. That is it, and that is all. And you know what happens when you have the nation negotiating instead of allowing laissez-faire economics to happen? The prices are lower, the cost is lower because the government, that nation has the big stick. They are in control. The tail is not wagging the dog in that case. In other nations, like the tail is wagging the dog over here in the United States of America. And here we make it illegal. Take a look at this. When lawmakers created Medicare's Part D in 2003, they barred Medicare from negotiating prices. Republicans who controlled Congress at the time wanted insurers that administer drug plans to do the haggling. In other words, the Republicans created policy. Doc, this is your favorite path. The Republicans created policy deliberately to allow the fox to negotiate the prices for the hens.
Yeah. And it goes even deeper than that. And I know you know this. The politicians really didn't create the policy. They did, and told the politicians what to do.
That's it.
So they created the actual context and the wording and the policy framework. They hand it to the politician. The politician's job is to figure out how to sell it appropriately to the base and then get it passed. So these policies are not written by actual politicians. They're not smart enough to write them, but they are crafty enough to get them passed. And that is your hand in glove relationship. Don't think this was not already in the works from day one. Day one, they knew we're gonna end up doing this later. Later is now here. Is there an uproar from the Biden administration? I mean, an uproar, not a press release.
Yes.
An uproar. Has he utilized the power, the leverage of that amazingly powerful office to say what will not happen, what should not happen, what cannot happen under his watch? These things are not taking place. There's a fight, obviously, that all elected officials can engage in as it relates to voting and policy, et cetera. But there's also something else. You can fight outside the box. You don't have to fight within the four corners of what they tell you. You can actually fight outside of that box. I don't see a lot of that happening with our rank and file Democrats. I do see a lot of that happening with conservatives. Conservatives have figured out how to fight well outside of the box. Let me bring up Marjorie Taylor Greene, who in my earlier reporting, it is confirmed she's now a serious vice presidential consideration for Trump if he runs in 2024. This person, as much as I hate her politics and policy, she has absolutely no congressional power. They took away all of her committee assignments. She's one of the most effective fundraisers in the Republican Party, operating outside of the lines, getting things accomplished with the base outside of the regular power channels established by the Republican mainstream. What happens when Democrats, when progressives operate in a way that challenges the mainstream of corporate Democrats? They're put on the island. They're told, no, you gotta stay away from this Democrat. This Democrat doesn't mean you any good here. And then what happens? It weakens our collective voice when moments like this come. And obviously, we have a base that says this is wrong, but we don't have a base of politicians willing to voice that concern.
That's exactly right, Doc. And what does it mean to be a progressive? You're supposed to be different than the neoliberal and use that power. Power is meant to be used and accept the consequences for standing up for what is just right and good. It wasn't until this year that Congress eased the restriction, eased it. Nothing to jump too high about, but they eased it. And that only affects 20 drugs for seniors in 2029, Doc. Yep. 2029, 20 drugs for seniors. That is nowhere near enough, and it should be unacceptable. People should be standing up on desks and on top of people's heads over this. So we pay more for more for medications like insulin. Let's put up this chart so the people can see this with us. Top 10 countries where insulin is most expensive. Guess where we are? At the top at almost $100. You got Chile, Mexico, Japan, Switzerland, Canada, Germany, Korea, Luxembourg, and Italy. Look at all of those countries. And you know why, Doc? You know why their prices are so much lower than ours? Is because the country negotiates.
That's right.
They put the hammer on the pharmaceutical industry and say, not here, not in our backyard, not in our watch.
And based on the economic theory of how these negotiations work, we should actually be at the bottom of how much we pay because of our population and consumer base. That is the basis of lowering the cost per person is based on population and consumer base. So we should actually have the lowest amounts to pay on this planet, but we are the highest. Why? Because we have refused, by policy, we have refused to allow the country to negotiate on behalf of citizens because it would impact the profits of these individuals in these major companies.
There it is, just let people die at the altar of profits. So that's why it does matter who we elect to office. It matters who has the power and how they use that power and for whom they use that power. We are being failed in this nation when it comes to healthcare industry, from the healthcare or the sick care industry, from the hospitalization all the way to how people can or cannot afford to get their prescription drugs. This is immoral as hell. Here we go, Doc. We're gonna talk about Fetterman and a medical report. We're easing from pharmaceutical drugs into Fetterman. So John Fetterman has had to repeatedly let folks know that he is ready and in good condition to not only run for this seat, but to serve in this seat. And so the attacks that have come up against him have been relentless, mainly from the GOP, who really want to try to drive a wedge between Fetterman and the voters, to paint him as somehow not capable physically. Well, this week, his doctor came out with a report, and let's show some of that. So Fetterman campaign releases a new report from his doctor that says he has no work restrictions. Now, we may recall that Fetterman suffered a stroke in May. I believe it was on May the 13th. And as I said before, the GOP has really been using this as a political football to try to trap Fetterman up. You even have some reporters not being very professional when it comes to asking him questions and really digging into the policy side of why he's running, instead of trying to be all up in his business about his health. If he couldn't be running, he wouldn't be running. But let's go ahead and put this up, what the doctor had to say, his primary care physician, about where he stands. So the doctor, Dr. Clifford Chin, said the following, or in a report. He spoke intelligently without cognitive defects. He's referring to Fetterman. He continues to exhibit symptoms of an auditory processing disorder, which can come across as hearing difficulty. Occasional words he will miss, which seems like he doesn't hear the word, but it is actually not processed properly. His hearing of sound, such as music, is not affected. His communication is significantly improved compared to his first visit, assisted by speech therapy, which he has attended on a regular basis since the stroke. So the bottom line is he is recovering like any other stroke victim would. And Doc, who among us has not mispronounced the word, misheard a word, had a synapse lapse, and that's all without having a stroke? So this is nothing but manufacturing of a conundrum that they're trying to make for John Fetterman.
Herschel Walker can't say COVID. Okay. Stop. Herschel Walker can't say the word COVID. So this is not about his slurred speech or mispronouncing a word or even his health, period. Because we have seen conservatives, they are happy to vote for people who obviously do not have capacity to govern, do not have capacity to comprehend, to critically think, not required. But all of a sudden, it becomes this great wedge that they utilize in order to one up the political opponent. Why? Because they are afraid to talk about the policies presented. The reality is, in elected politics, we're looking for not only the policy point of view and the policy advocate, we're also looking for the person that has a decent heart, the person that has a good sense of values. Let me tell you why that's so important. Because on the campaign trail, there are questions I won't think to ask. There are questions you won't think to ask. you don't know what they will do in every situation because you can't think of every situation. So what do you have to go on then? You got heart, you got values. You got to be able to say, you know what? I can't ask every question that this person may have to encounter, but I believe that they have a value system that is aligned to my own. And beyond what they have said on record, I need to also trust their heart going into the office. And the brother has heart. He got heart. He got heart. And for me, heart, integrity, and the policy dynamics, we get it. Health issues happen. It's a very difficult thing to campaign. You know this more than most, but the reality is he can serve, period.
He can serve, Doc. It was a manufactured controversy, and the first reporter that went at him in this way, she got more than she bargained for. She was going for clicks, but folks went ham on her, and rightfully so, because there are people who have all types of conditions, and they deserve to be able to live their life as they see fit and to compete for any job that they want. This NBC reporter's comments about Fetterman draws criticism, and rightfully so. Otherly abled folks, no matter whether it's a stroke or another condition, have a right to go for the types of jobs that they feel that they are suited for. And non-physicians should not dip into a physician's place trying to diagnose these folks and determine who is capable, who is able, and who is not. It reminds me when Senator Bernie Sanders had his heart attack and they had written off our campaign, Doc. They surely, I mean, I remember it like it was yesterday, getting that call early in the morning, but look what happened. Not only did Senator Bernard Sanders recover, he came back out with the fire, the total fire in the belly that we put on full display in Queens, New York, when we had our first big rally where there were almost 30,000 people in attendance. The type of negative, nasty political ads that were ran against the senator because of this heart attack. So people do dirty, nasty things in politics that we should not accept. So you go head on, John Fetterman, and you run your race. And we are so glad that your doctor has signed off a clean bill of health that you can do what you do. And speaking of doing what we do, we'll be right back.
Indisputable has been named the fastest growing news TV show in the United States of America, compared to all shows on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and roughly 30 others. What do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable. Donald Trump radicalized citizens. He's the chief terrorist. Republicans still want you to think that critical race theory is the greatest evil that can happen in K-12 education. It's not even taught. I guarantee you this, David. If he would have taken a knee during the national anthem to bring awareness to the need for more money for cancer research in America, he would not have had that response. It was the fact that he took a knee for black folk and brown folk. You rather pick the voters because you're scared of the voters picking the politicians. It frightens you. But we coming. When you are in a privileged position, equality looks like oppression to you. The Karenicity runs deep in this one. We provide a mirror for reflection and a mirror for correction. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Let's put up the graphic of this Karen in peak performance. Boom. They want anarchy so they can start creating their own rules.
Can you share with me some examples?
When they were running around during the terrorist attack on January 6th saying hang Mike Pence. So those are the people I'm talking about. That's a problem, correct? You work for Mike Pence, stand up for the guy. Do not allow the ideology of politics to evaporate the humanity that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, so I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reformed in this country, so I won't stop. And you won't stop either.
This is where it all began for many elected progressive leaders. The Young Turks was one of the few media outlets to cover the races of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Rashida Tlaib, and many, many more. We know a great majority of the country is actually progressive, and TYT is here to amplify these issues so that we can have better policies that a majority of the country actually supports. We want to drive positive change, and then we've been doing that for 20 years here. That's why we're launching Canvas 2022, a campaign to get out the vote and amplify progressive candidates, the progressive agenda, and their primary races. The midterm elections are fast approaching, and we know mainstream media won't cover progressive voices, but because the TYT audience is too strong, we can make a difference in the midterm elections to help progressives get elected and make sure our priorities are heard. Support our mission to drive positive change. Visit tyt.com/canvas2022.
Hello, beloveds. I have a big announcement. I'm launching a new daily 1-hour show with the Young Turks called Unbossed with Nina Turner, starting October 17th. We are going to be taking on corruption in all of its forms, whether it's big money, big pharma, the injustice system, the establishment of both parties. All that we love is on the line. They keep coming for the people, not serving the people. Now we're coming for them. Anytime anyone, anywhere tries to take power from the people, that is where we will be together on Unbossed. And not only are we gonna take on these people, we're also gonna have a little joy while we fight. What is life without having some joy? The channel's already up, so go subscribe now, yes, right now, at youtube.com/unbossed TYT.
Welcome back. Let's read some viewer comments. We have Cheesecake. Cheesecake says, do you see any other country modeling their healthcare system on ours? That says it all. You got that right,
That's
Cheesecake.
right.
You broke that down.
That is not happening.
That's it. That's it and that's all.
Right.
Ain't nobody else following our lead.
That's right.
Go ahead, Cheesecake. Hunger Games says, pharmaceutical companies are in lawmakers' pockets. Well, Hunger Games, I agree with you, but I think it's the other way around too. The pharmaceutical industry have the lawmakers in their pockets, but point absolutely well taken. I sigh deeply. You guys know when I get to sign, this is about WTF neoliberal. So Senator Chuck Schumer has a new focus, the leg space on airplanes. Yep, you heard me right. He cares about the leg space on airplanes. And I know for some folks, this is important. I'm not trying to minimize it, especially if you are over 6 feet tall. I get it, I got you. But he's calling New Yorkers to fight back against shrinking airplane seats. This is a WTF neoliberal moment.
We will now kneel.
Miss Cinema, no.
You have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
Take a look at this headline. I just can't make this up. Schumer urges New Yorkers to fight back. The word fight is in this headline. Fight back against shrinking airplane seats. So we get it. I mean, flying is not always a super fun experience. People can be cramped. I got it. But why? Oh, why on God's green earth would the senator use his cachet on this when there are so many other pressing issues? Doc, we just talked about some of those pressing issues, but this man is calling on New Yorkers to fight back against the airline industry because of shrinking seats.
Damn, Chuck. I don't know what to say. Okay, let me start here. If Chuck Schumer was as uncomfortable with the fact that voting rights are being ripped away from people every day as he is uncomfortable with the fact that he doesn't have enough leg room on an airplane, we will probably be headed in the right direction. This is a cat who literally picks certain fights and not the fights that I would want him to pick typically. But this one, you gotta be kidding me. And the reason this is important to highlight, Senator, as you know, he's placing an emphasis on this, which means he has to spend political capital. He has to spend his political power. He has to put focus and emphasis on this. Well, he has capacity. He has a limited capacity. That takes away from something else that could have been a focus right here. So this is now the fight for Chuck. Maybe he feels he can get a win out of this. Great. If he gets a win, who the hell cares? Okay, good.
Yeah, it's really.
I don't get it.
I don't get it either, Doc. You know, Stephen Dunzinger hits the nail on the head with this tweet. And he just, our planet is burning, democracy is under attack, and Schumer accepted $640,000 from the fossil fuel industry just this year. Time to focus on airplane seats. Why the Democrats are in trouble. Hey, Schumer urges New Yorkers to fight back against shrinking airplane seats. Stephen did that. I mean, that's it.
Yeah.
He that right there, of all the things that he could be fighting for, he chooses to take up this fight. It is asinine. And the earth is burning and democracy is crumbling as we speak.
Yeah. And it's so insensitive. Just think about it. If this was actually a concern of Schumer, at least have enough, at least be grounded enough in what's happening with the people who you represent. Understand this is not the time to create a headline that talks about leg room on an airplane. You literally have a nation that's hanging by a thread as far as its democracy is concerned. Rights are being taken away through policy and legislative efforts. And you can't even figure out how to come up with some level of barrier to stop women from having their rights ripped away from them by the day. They're coming after marriage rights. They're gonna come after all of them. And you're talking about leg room on a damn airplane. Come on, man.
Come on, man. Yeah, and Republicans could very well take back the House and the Senate, and this man playing games with airplane seats. What are the top issues facing New Yorkers? I'm so glad you asked. We wanted to know as well. Criminal justice law changes, inflation, cost of housing, and New York City school budgets. But you know what is not on that list? I don't see it, Doc. Got my glasses on.
Not there.
You know what is not on that list? Damn airplane seat.
Yeah, not even the top 100 actually.
Not at all, not at all. I can't even call it. Oh, well, we got some good news.
Okay.
Unionization efforts. Man, folks all over this country. I mean, the workers are really coming together based on what they have in common, and that is the man or the woman who puts their feet on their necks. I'm talking about the bosses. And these folks are coming together regardless of political affiliation, identity, religion, all of that stuff. None of that stuff matters when you are fighting for better wages and benefits and work conditions. So the labor movement continues to make its way across the United States. Every worker across the nation is coming together. So we got workers at Oklahoma City who voted to become the second unionized Apple store in the nation. So good. Congratulations. So 88 of 95 workers at Penn Square Mall store weighed in, and 56 of them, or 64%, voted to be represented by the Communication Workers of America. I am just smiling, just thinking about this. Penn Square Labor Alliance union demands. And what are they demanding? Well, we know what it is: fair compensation, career development, bonuses, and benefits that align with those of corporate employees, hiring from underrepresented communities, and labor conditions that respect health and well-being. And the CWA tweeted out this celebratory message. Congratulations to Apple workers in Oklahoma City who just won their union election to join CWA. Doc?
I love CWA. I actually have done a lot of work with CWA right here in the state of Georgia. AFL-CIO, the Teamsters, I've done work with all of them, remarkable groups. And what I've found as a commonality when I address the membership, literally every political class is represented in these groups. You have conservative, you have moderate, you have liberal, you have progressive. Everybody's here. And the labor movement is one of the very few movements left in America where you will find a cross-political category all in one place. Is also the reason why we have not only livable wages at some of these jobs, some of these corporate positions, but it's also the reason why we have safety. It's also the reason why we have certain rules that keep children safe and stops basically de facto slavery from happening in the United States of America. So it's not just the wages, it's not just the benefits. Those things are powerful and great, but it's also what they advocated for as it relates to safety and protocol and policy. Those things are part of the labor movement as well. So I'm glad to see CWA get another victory here.
I am too, and I love CWA. And that we can learn a lot from the labor movement, how they are casting aside all the things that they don't agree with one another about to unite based on what they have in common. And that's the hell that they catching in these workplaces. A lot to learn. Senator Bernie Sanders put out a tweet. Let me congratulate the Apple Store workers in Oklahoma City for voting to become the second unionized Apple Store in the US. Last year, Apple made a record $95 billion in profit. Its billionaire CEOs made 99 million in 2021. It's time for Apple to treat its workers with respect. Amen to that, Senator. Yes. And you know what? This didn't come easy, Doc, as we know, no great fight ever comes easy. Let's put up what More Perfect Union had to say. A day before the election, Apple then announced, in violation of federal law, mind you, that it's rolling out new benefits to all US retail workers except those who are unionizing. What in the unholy hell?
Yep, ACLU needs to get on this immediately. There has to be a lawsuit filed, an injunction motion to stop this, because you are right. This is clear. This is clear retaliation in a different form. These cats are crafty, okay? So they did it in a way where they can hopefully, according to their lawyer, I'm sure, pass the legal muster here. But they're violating the spirit, the essence of what the federal government says is not allowable. So at some point, this has to be challenged and brought before a judge.
Yeah, it does, Doc. I mean, these are the kinds of things that you need government to step in and not allow these corporations to do this. And I got an unfortunate update though from Albany, Amazon workers. Let's put up that headline. Blow to Amazon union drive as New York workers reject latest bid. And so we have warehouse workers near Albany vote against forming a union by nearly a 2-1 margin, unfortunately. And this is what Chris Smalls had to say. This brother has been the champion of the unionization of Amazon workers. And he said, today, everyone involved with ALU is filled with mixed emotions. We're proud of the brave workers in upstate New York who stood up in the face of a vicious anti-union campaign to challenge a $1 trillion corporation. Yep. This won't be the end of ALU at ALB1. Thank you, Chris Smalls, for everything that you do, and absolutely thank you to those brave workers. And now to our Jawbone. Oh my God, we got a good one today. And this is coming from Brene Brown. And this is what she said. I want to be in the arena. I want to be brave with my life. And when we make the choice to dare greatly, we sign up to get our asses kicked. We can choose courage or we can choose comfort, but we can't have both. Not at the same time. That's Brene Brown. She's a professor, author, and a podcast host. And I agree with what she said. We can't have both at the same time.
That was so dope. So beautiful. Very well said. Yeah.
Very well said. Very fitting for today's show as well. Well, we want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much, Dr. Richey, for rounding home for us here at Unbossed on our premiere week. Thank each and every one of you who have subscribed, who believe in this program, and also those of you who believe and support the TYT network all the way. We are sending you lots of love and lots of light. And you know exactly what I want you to do, baby. I want you to keep the faith. But more importantly, I want you to keep the fight. Until next week.